The tilt is real.
Tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena.
Let's go. Welcome in to another Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, James Crease. And man, we've made it, Juan. We've made it to June.
It's a full year, Chef.
It's June 2nd, and we're here live for episode 54 of the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. Shout out to everybody in the chat, watching, listening. And of course, there's somebody there on the other screen, Mr. Swanson in the building.
Hi.
Notepad in hand, man. You must be ready for this show, bro.
No notepad in hand? Yeah, no, this is weather.
Oh, well, the weather outside is always weather. And we're going to be talking about the weather in the East because I think it's going to be a pretty stormy year for some of those NFC East players.
Ooh.
Doom and gloom early.
Yeah, you hit it. So it's episode 54. We're going to be talking about the NFC East breakdowns of fantasy football relevance. Last week, we did a mock draft, and some of these players landed on our team. And Juan, that team was fire.
Yeah, it's stacked. And I've been finding myself doing this in best ball and in a lot of redraft leagues that I'm starting up right now. I've been able to get Nick Chubb and Antonio Gibson on the turn. And that's exactly what we did. The highlights are that, we had Lamar Jackson fall to us in the 5th round. So we ended up having a really good roster with DJ Shark on there and Curtis Samuel, player that we'll be talking about today. So I really like where that team went.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, you were there, so you don't have to imagine it.
I was going to say, you don't have to imagine. You just have to remember.
You helped draft. You got us Justin Fields as the backup quarterback. We got young Jamar Chase, Najee Harris. You went with Irv Smith. That was your gut call on when we got deep into that tight end class where you starts to get a little murky. Yep. And we ended up there with Irv Smith Jr.
I like that Irv Smith Jr. pick.
I like it too.
I'm liking Irv Smith's value later in drafts compared to
the 10th round,
like a Hawkinson or something like that. I mean, I guess he's like last year's Blake Jarwin, perhaps.
Maybe.
With that upside, everybody was hyped around Blake Jarwin going into the 2020 season. And then we see, Irv Smith kind of like just lurking later in drafts. And that's going to be your value pick this year.
Yeah, we'll be talking about value pick guys later, like Dalton Schultz, who ended up finishing tight end 11, you know what I mean, on the Dallas Cowboys. So opportunity is king. And now with Kyle Rudolph joining the Giants, who we'll also be talking about in a little bit, there's a window of opportunity there for Irv Smith. So.
For sure. But we're not here to talk about Minnesota this week. We're here to talk about the NFC East, Dallas Cowboys, who we're not a fan of personally, and I'm sure Mr. Swanson can agree with me there. We'll talk to some Giants, Eagles. The Washington football team is back,
Division
baby.
Champs.
Yeah, division champs.
Yes.
That ain't happening this year, dude.
It's a fantasy show. It looks pretty good, man. I'm not gonna say I don't know. Like they're competitive. You got to watch out for them. You got to watch out for that WFT.
Yeah, the YOLO Fitzpatrick there with all those weapons and Gibson and his growth. It's gonna be a great season, at least for fantasy. Even if they're not great and they're 7-9 or 7-10, I guess at this point. They'll still be really fantasy relevant. How hard is it to get used to that? By the way,
so hard.
It's
crazy. Like everything changes, right? Yeah. Oh man.
People are afraid of change, myself included.
Yeah, like imagine the way my brain works with numbers. That number 16 was easy to divide. You could divide it into quarters. Like it was just a perfect like half and half, 8 and 8. Now it's a weird dynamic with that 17. I got to get used to it.
Not to mention the week 14 bias is going to mess with people as well. Yeah, because I'm just mind boggled how there's like 4 or 5 teams there on a week 14 bye.
I think the Eagles are one of them.
Eagles are one of them. Yes, I think Colts are one as well, and possibly Denver. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
about
maybe.
That.
It's strange because you saw that it helped the Bucs last year because after that bye they didn't lose another game and they went on that crazy run. So it'd be interesting to see if one of these teams that has a week 14 bye can kind of be rested for that playoff push.
Like the Colts.
It's Philly, New England, Indy, and the Dolphins.
Yeah,
14.
Hey, Dolphins, let's go.
Yeah, Fins in 14.
Why not?
Fins in 14. Ugh, that's crazy. It's so weird to look at.
Fins in 14.
Fins in week 14 have a bye.
Well, yeah, we have a bye.
Oh, that's tough.
That's a good thing. I like that. I like that laid by. Then we'll go on our run after that.
Speaking of runs, let's run right into the weekly reel, man. Pump out this news for
Let's get that
everybody in the
news.
chat.
Run it.
It's the weekly reel, presented by The Tilt is Real. It's the weekly reel. Let me hear the news.
Now, we're talking about the NFC East today, so we might as well kick it off with some news about running back Antonio Gibson. Now, the Washington Post's Sam Fortier reports that Gibson is still rehabbing from the toe injury he suffered late in 2020 season. If you guys can remember, I don't know if it was a toe or Liz Frank or turf toe. It was turf toe.
It was turf toe.
Yeah. So that turf toe injury apparently is still lingering, and Gibson missed 2 games near the end of the season last year. Kind of crushed all those fantasy managers' dreams of making it into the playoffs because of Gibson. With him lingering like this and Ron Rivera coming out and saying that he wants to get Gibson more involved, especially in the passing game, is it safe to say that we might see Gibson slow on the productive side of things for the 2021 season due to this toe injury?
It's a lingerer, man.
It is a lingerer. Yeah.
I hate when it's the toe and that those type of injuries stay with a player. Hopefully they don't overwork him in the summer and in camp and then in preseason and just let him rest that and get completely back to 100%. Because this is a dude, like you said, he missed games and he still finished RB13. So the sky's the limit, especially with that offense, adding Curtis Samuel, drafting Diami Brown, the growth of Terry McLaurin, who had a stellar year, and now bringing in Fitzpatrick. Like, that offense should open up, and he should be a candidate for top 5 potential. At least he has top 5 upside. And if he's dealing with that injury, I don't know if they'll keep using McKissick, and they might hand the ball off to Curtis Samuel, who had 200 yards rushing last year too.
I think they will. Right? They were talking about that. I was hearing some things about Curtis Samuel being utilized in the backfield, and I don't know if that's necessarily I don't know what that's really gonna do for Gibson. I mean,
Gibson's efficient.
Gonna hurt him, or he's still efficient.
He's going to be very efficient, so he might not need as many touches to get the production, but it still caps his ceiling if everybody else is trying to run the ball and they're doing too much of that gimmicky stuff.
So elsewhere in the news, I can't really see my screen too much. I must be having that Jameis Winston kind of feel.
Yeah, he needed LASIK to be able to read that the New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm squinting. Is Jameis? I'm sorry. Nick Underhill reports from NewOrleans.com that Jameis Winston is not the solidified starter.
Here we go.
Headed into the 2021 season. Now, we knew this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be murky, and it's like murk season. It's not even duck season. I don't know what this is. Everywhere, the backfields are cloudy, and quarterbacks and Taysom Hill, and who's the starter. The intrigue of early June is kind of crazy right now.
And then Larry Holder reported from The Athletic that in his deep dive of Winston's strengths and weaknesses as Tampa's starter, pointed out his catchable pass percentage on slant routes plunged from 80 to 61.1% over a year's time. So what's that do for Michael Thomas, who we all know lives off of the slant, makes his bread and butter off the slant route? Well, that was back with Drew Brees, though, so we don't really know what to expect. We didn't see too much when Taysom Hill was throwing it last year.
I think we can expect Michael Thomas's ADP to fall. That's kind of just all I'm seeing out of this is Michael Thomas's ADP to start to drop.
And it's a
crazy
shame
world.
Yeah, he's going from having Drew Brees, who was more accurate. Did you ever see that Sports Science where he was more accurate than an Olympic archer?
What?
Yes, he was more accurate with a football. Cool. He was more accurate with a football than an Olympic archer was, and he was like an 80% completion percentage guy. And now you're going to Jameis, who can't throw a slant. It's a big drop off, and maybe the LASIK pays off, or maybe we see Taysom Hill, who did have success throwing the slant, and that's the one throw he can make. He doesn't have the capacity to stretch the field, but he can definitely hit on some short passes.
They're going to want to stretch the field somewhere in New Orleans.
At some point, they have to. Yeah.
Who's going to be the candidate? Yeah. Is it going to be Traquan Smith, or is it going to be somebody else?
I think it might be somebody else, somebody that gets cut from another team and ends up there. Whatever happens in Detroit with the 7 receivers that they picked up, and whoever falls out of that, shakes out of that tree, maybe lands there as a free agent over the summer.
Free agency? What happens if? Oh no, I was going to say, what happens if Julio Jones?
You're going to say it? I knew you were going to say it. Goodness.
I mean,
Goodness.
we have to bring it up
Michael-
on every show until he gets
Michael-
traded.
for Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's June 2nd, and he should have been traded already.
Should have happened today.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching
Yeah.
the phone just in case.
Any minute we're gonna get. the
Yeah,
update
same. Any
alert.
minute, Rick. I feel like it's happening any minute. Every like 10 minutes, I look down at the phone. I'm like, where'd he go? Oh, nope, still there. Okay.
Oh
Ooh.
man.
Oh, I just got.
Well, I do have some
oh.
breaking news that
Yep,
wide
go
receiver Daz Newsome for the Bears, rookie wide receiver for the Bears, just broke his collarbone
Oh,
in practice yesterday and will undergo surgery tomorrow, Thursday. So that sucks for Daz Newsome. I mean, a lower pick. Would they get him in the 6th round?
I believe so. Yeah, but those
Sixth
guys
round,
usually they have a chance to compete usually, especially on a team that's looking for kind of its identity at the is it Anthony Miller, Darnell Mooney, kind of who's going to be that guy. So he would have had a chance to crack the starting lineup.
They're saying that it's an 8-week recovery time, so he should be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Should
it'll
be
just,
all right.
it'll just
It's
hurt
a
his
clean
timing.
break. Yeah.
Doesn't affect my
Mm.
man Darnell Mooney either way, man. I'm all about Darnell Mooney this year.
Yeah, Chef's
Yeah,
big on
me
him.
too.
He's another one who landed on our mock draft last week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a
Like
waiver
I'm not
wire
leaving.
hero, baby.
I'm not leaving any draft without Darnell Mooney coming out in like the 10th round.
We don't have to ask him who his guy is.
Yeah, he might be my. Oh man, I don't know if I want to put that much faith in him, but I want to see
Hold off
Justin
on the hot
Fields.
take.
I want to see who the quarterback is first. But
Yeah, that'll help.
we won't be able to know, just like we won't be able to know about who's going to be the starting running back for the Houston Texans
Oof.
after they just signed Rex Burkhead,
Murphy,
formerly of
man.
the Patriots. If you guys don't know out there, he's going to be 31 years old come July, and he adds to the backfield of David Johnson and Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay. Like, and I'm sure
Burkhead?
there's a couple more in there, but I think Burkhead gets the number 4 slot in that. Can we play 1, 2, 3, 4?
I
More
Real
like
fast.
Merkhead.
like 1, 2.
Merkhead.
I don't
On
even know
account
if
of
one of those.
Rex Merkhead.
Merkhead
love
on
it.
account of that murky backfield.
Yeah. I'd say it's time to cut ties in Dynasty with any of those backs. If you have them, it's a little too late. Probably he should have done it a
Yeah.
while ago. Yeah,
Yikes.
that's rough.
Yeah, I was reading a tweet this morning, and it was about David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay, and now Rex Burkhead all in the same backfield.
Yeah.
And the topic came up, who's going to be the running back you want? And my response was, I don't want any of them in redraft
Right.
Yeah.
at all. I mean, if you want to take a buy David Johnson on the cheap as a backup, like an RB5 on your dynasty
Yeah.
team, you could buy him
Not even-
really, really cheap right now, like for pennies on the dollar, I guess.
No.
I mean, the dollar, it's not like, no, it's like pennies on a quarter.
Yeah, I'm holding my pennies.
Yeah. But I mean, I really don't want any situational backfield that has 4 running backs that are capable of doing single down work in between. Like we saw what Mark Ingram can do. He could play that offset running back. He did it for the Saints, and he did it with Baltimore. He was a lead back.
Right.
So he definitely has some capability. David Johnson, we saw
He was a star. He was a league
last
winner.
year. He had 3 games where he went out and scored over 20 fantasy points at the end of the season. It was 15, 16, and 17 where he started he caught 11 for 11
Yeah.
in that one game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he made the charts as a running back 1 that week. So I'm okay with David Johnson as a fill-in later in leagues. Like I think he's falling to like the 12th or 13th round in drafts. So if I can get a running back that late, I'll take it.
I mean, it's a name. I'll take Philip Lindsay. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons to begin his career.
And
So
yeah, you can get Lindsey much cheaper than David Johnson right
so
now.
maybe
in drafts.
that's what those guys have all become. Double-digit rounds.
Yeah, for sure.
Double-digit rounds in drafts this year. Yeah.
Shout out Justin.
What up,
in the chat. We
Justin?
see you, bro.
What up,
What's
Justin?
going on, man?
What's
I
up,
thought
man?
we weren't going to have an episode today, man. We were having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, StreamYard was being a knucklehead. but
Oh
they came
yeah,
around.
it was shout out to StreamYard.
Yeah, they got
But
it fixed.
you know, it was a quick fix, I guess. We all made it. We're all here. We're giving you the news analysis that you guys love and crave and always tilt on. So shout out to anybody in the chat who's listening, watching. What's your tilt? You know, it's mock seasons upon us. You know, if you guys are out there mocking and you want to know strategy or anything like that, sign in to Twitter, hit us up at mailbag@thetiltisreal.com. You know, do what you want to do. We will help you out for free. Like we don't take money for this. We're just helping you out. We want you to win your leagues. And it starts with mock drafting and getting into a segment here where we're going to break down our favorite division. Well, mine and Swanson's favorite division. And we're going to do some Beasts of the East. You guys ready to get into it?
I like the Chef. Before you set it off, Chef, I like that last year it was the NFC least and it was a big joke. But we just saw what a murky backfield they have in Houston. There's other places where they don't have running backs, and the beast of the East applies to running backs. Because I think every player on the East, every starting running back in the East can be an RB1 this year. So I love that we're starting off with the beast of the East.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many options. So let's start getting into them.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
He steps up. He is going deep. And it is caught by outside Jeffrey for a touchdown. Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. Airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
Yeah,
I don't know
man,
if you
that
can see right now, but I got
dude.
chills right now for the. You see the hair standing up.
I'm starting to get these drops better, man. I have fun with them. I just never have enough time.
They're coming around, Chef.
No, they're doing well. I sure do.
Busy.
You heard the Merrill Reese in there, right?
I heard the Merrill Reese. I sure do appreciate that, Chef. I really do. And I know it's been a tough season, an off season for you. There's been a lot going on your end. And congratulations, by the way, on the beautiful baby boy. Yo, Chef's kid. Oh, my God, man. That kid is a first rounder. He is a 10101.
Oh, I appreciate it.
It looks just like him. It is. And he's most of the time I've spent with him, he's sleeping. And he's sleeping when there's like crazy noise going on. Like the kid's just like, yeah, just let me sleep.
Yeah, he does sleep through a lot. I'm thankful for that.
He's just sitting there and growing so he can be a middle linebacker.
He's just growing. Let him grow.
You know what's funny? Like you guys saw him most of the time. You see him when he's sleeping, but what you don't know is how long it takes him to actually get to that sleeping state.
I can't imagine.
So like I'm sitting here trying to do research last night, and every 5 minutes he would wake up out of his sleep, and I'm just like, all right, I failed. Like I'm done. Like let's just hang out with the kid until he falls asleep. And then sure enough, 10 minutes later, after I do that, I'm exhausted. He's tired. He's asleep. I move him upstairs. I'm like, you know what? It's like 2:00 in the morning. I'm going to bed. Like, oh,
so
man.
You think Daniel Jones has a kid? Is that what happened to him? He just got tired on that one long run and then he just stumbled. He was like, I'm going to take a nap now. That wasn't what happened to him.
I'm wearing my Barkley jersey today, man. I don't want to talk about Daniel Jones unless I have to defend his honor. Don't be talking bad about Daniel Jones.
He's got Tyree kill speed.
Trying to make an excuse for him, Chef. You know what I mean? I'm trying to
Hey, there are a few people that have a faster chest than their legs.
Well, he's one of them.
He's one of them.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about the Giants first. We're going to move into the Dallas Cowboys and
ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, and we'll jump right on to their quarterback, Dak Prescott. I mean, he was injured last year. Major injury. I believe it was an ACL, MCL.
No, it was the broken bone.
Oh, and the broken bone.
Yeah. So, I mean, he went out, but when he went out, Chef, 27.9 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, it was his ankle.
It was his ankle. You're right.
His ankle.
Yeah.
He was QB1. He was lighting the world on fire. He had 9 touchdowns at the time he went out. He had 3 rushing. So, like, the dude's all world, and he's going to be in the top 5 and should be in the top 5 QBs. And if he gets slept on in your leagues and your drafts and you end up with Dak in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, take him because he can win you the league.
Yeah, I mean, a guy scoring over 30 points, fantasy points per game, like that's someone you want on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, and he also had pretty high completion percentage, 68%, which shows you that he was on target. And while he was there, those receivers were all thriving. And that's what I like the most about this Dallas team is that receiving core. And they have a chance to be like the Cardinals were, like circa 2010, 2011, when they had the 3 number 1 receivers and Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, and Steve Preston. They all cracked 1,000 yards. You know, so I like the fact that 2 of those guys, Larry Fitzgerald had 12 touchdowns, Anquan Bolden had 11, and then Preston only had 3, but he had 1,000 yards on 77 catches, which is what Gallup would have done last year. I think if Dak would have stayed there, I think he had an opportunity with 100 targets to come up with 77 of those balls, and he is the deep threat on that team. So I like their prospects this year, and I'm all in on all of their receivers.
You know, definitely, man. It's yeah.
The one game against Seattle, I like. He had 9 targets last year with Dak as the quarterback, throwing the ball deep. He caught 6 of them for 138 yards.
Big game. Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to see more of that from Michael Gallup, and he's going to be one of those late round guys, I think.
I think he's a value, Chef.
This year.
What do you have him going right now? Expert consensus rankings.
Expert consensus on Gallup. Let me see if I can find it. He's down there, man. He's not.
Yeah, he's like 43. And last year he finished as 38. But again, he was completely.
He's 44. You're very close.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, but I think he's higher than that. I don't see how he doesn't finish as a wide receiver 3 somehow, some way. That's floor, and that's not even accounting for Dak being there the entire season.
Well, let's test the waters real fast. Michael Gallup or Laviska Shenault? He's ECR 45 right now.
Yeah, I'll still take Gallup.
Yeah, I'll take Gallup too.
100 targets.
Michael Gallup or Corey Davis?
I think Gallup finishes ahead of him, but I would have to draft Davis for the opportunity. I'm all about the chance, and he's going to be the number 1 on that offense. So,
and we're talking about like our third target on the field. What about Antonio Brown? Antonio Brown or Michael Gallup?
Gallup.
Fair
Gallup.
enough.
Yeah, there's too much Godwin, Evans, too many mouths to feed and all that. And like they had it last year where they all broke 100 targets. And if he's going to get 100 targets again, and they're from Dak Prescott and not from, what was your boy's name? Ben DiNucci?
Ben DiNucci. Hey, it's the DiNucci.
He's a DiNucci. Yeah. So not from the Nooch this year. So I expect Gallup to finish a little higher than ECR. I feel like he's a value.
I like
Hi,
that.
Cooter Doodle. Hello.
What up, Cooter?
What's up?
What's up, Cooter? How are you?
Thank you for joining. You hear them birds in the background?
We had a great
Is it the Dallas
video
or
game.
Cooter
We had a
actually
great
you're doing?
video game draft yesterday on the Coming Off the Edge podcast.
Shout out Coming Off the Edge.
Dude,
pod.
that was so much
Yeah.
fun.
Shout
I
out.
stole
Good
the
shot.
show. Pokemon Go was my pick. 101. Well, no, 102. I don't remember the order, but
I like that Aladdin on Super NES. Cooter, see, that's more my speed, man. I don't even play Pokemon, but yeah, I know that game. That game was dope.
I put GoldenEye on there too.
That was fire. That was
Yeah,
the beginning of the
Yeah, you
shooters.
can't.
Yes, sir.
You can't.
That was
Yeah, you can't have that draft without GoldenEye.
that was the birth of all those games we like to play.
That paved the way.
It did.
That paved the way for me throwing my controller through a window after playing Warzone.
And Jeff Bell, he went all football games, like the first 3 picks, I believe it was.
I would have done the same. That's my man. He lives inside my brain, Jeff Bell. Dude.
Yeah, Tecmo Bowl,
Tecmo Super Bowl,
Madden,
and Joe Montana football.
and
Give me
he
that
said
one.
Joe Montana. He picked NCAA
Oh, okay.
for 2014, I think it was, or something like that. But yeah, he pushes through. He pushes through the pile the way every draft that we do, he finds a system how to win the vote. Kind of like Ezekiel Elliott finds a way to win his way into the backfield year after year by himself. I mean, we see Tony Pollard slowly getting some snippets of carries, but we all know that when Zeke is fully healthy, he's going to be the main threat in that backfield, and he's definitely going to get some targets as well.
Yeah, I have him top 6. I mean, like he was RB9 last year, but I have him top 6, and he only played 15 games.
I saw that too. Heard that too.
He didn't score that many touchdowns. You know what I mean? He didn't score that many touchdowns. It was 6 touchdowns last year. So you expect him to get into double digits this year, especially if Dak is playing. So Pollard, to your point, Chef, had 435 yards last year receiving. So he's getting some of that work. And you're going to see him. He had 28 catches for 40 yards, 28 out of 40 catches to target. So he's going to get utilized, but I don't see him as much of a threat. Like everybody else is trying to make Pollard a thing and make him a threat. I think it's right back to bell cow Zeke, and I think it's with that offense with Dak, he's going to be explosive again, and I wouldn't leave him out of my top 6 running backs.
Well, the main reason why I bring up, because everybody knows Zeke is up there on the rosters. He's first round caliber all day. So we're not going to sit here and debate whether or not he can be there. I just wanted to mention Pollard because the receiving game, I was trying to correlate it a little bit. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is there. He's going to be getting targets in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Amari Cooper's there. He's going to be the main target for Dak Prescott. We saw it last year. I think it's those 3 wide receivers and Zeke only that I really want to target as far as positional players. I mean, obviously, if you get Dak Prescott, you're a happy camper.
For sure.
So out of those 3 wide receivers, who would you prefer on your team due to value in drafts? I mean, Michael Gallup, wide receiver 44 right now. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb are back-to-back 16 and 17.
Yeah.
So I think I would rather have Amari Cooper on my team right now than CeeDee Lamb because he is the primary target.
If he's going to get the most targets, then you want to bank on that. And if I'm taking him the same, you're taking CeeDee for upside at that point if you're doing it. But I like Amari's consistency. And if I'm going to draft one of those guys in the 3rd round or so, 4th round, it's going to be Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Amari too. I feel like CD's a little high, like a little high.
that's what I was trying to get at too, Swanson. Like
Yeah.
he seems like people are going for the upside swing with him in his second year,
Yeah.
but with all the talent around him and a healthier offensive line, healthy Dak Prescott.
And probably an improved defense, which means they won't be playing those huge, crazy shootouts. They have to get better.
Yeah.
Like Micah Parsons, they can only improve. They were down in the 20s in sacks, interceptions. They were just not a defense that was turning the ball over. So they were giving up a ton of points, and they were gashed like nobody else in the run game too. So I feel like this year, if they're a little bit improved and Micah Parsons makes a difference, Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, like that's a really nice linebacking core, and they should be able to make that defense a little bit better.
The reason why I'm going with Amari Cooper or no one, I'm not going to select CeeDee Lamb that high in drafts. I mean, you have to remember, too, that the tight end Dalton Schultz got 89 targets last year. He caught 63 of those targets for 615 yards, 4 touchdowns. We have Blake Jarwin coming back.
Yep.
Okay. Blake Jarwin was that starting tight end with CeeDee Lamb in the offense already, and he was expected to be the main guy. He's already ranked 20th on the tight ends list. He's like almost a leftover at this point.
Yeah.
And he could be one of my sleeper tight ends this year if he's healthy, ready to go for training camp this summer.
All you need him to do is find the end zone with as far as tight ends go. Anything after tight end 4, tight end 5 is just going to be completely touchdown dependent. So, I mean, why not? On an offense that's going to be able to move the ball, maybe some more 2 tight end sets to protect Dak, to rely on the run and give the ball to Zeke. I could see the tight end in Dallas, whoever wins out, being fantasy relevant this year. But that's about it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but wheels up on the entire Dallas offense, of course, and wherever you draft them.
Sorry to cut you off, Juan. It's pretty much the same. I feel like we're saying the same thing that we said last year, right? Before the season started. Same, because same guys, same everything. We're kind of like, let's go with this. And then, of course, injury to Dak happens, and then the entire thing changes. But I think that's a good thing.
We just spent 10 minutes talking about a stagnant roster.
Talking about last year. Talking about last year. But it all comes down to one guy,
Yeah.
right? Like it all comes down to that one guy, because you see Dak go down and everything changes around him. And that's how big of an impact he makes. So a healthy Dak coming back automatically brings back everybody else around him. Although I think CeeDee Lamb is a little high right now, I definitely agree with you guys on Amari Cooper for sure.
All right. So we're going to go from one team that was pretty stagnant on roster moves to a team that is totally refaced with a new look, new wide receivers, new starting quarterback, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Shout out Mr. Swanson.
Bang.
And, you know, we could talk for days about the Jalen Hurts. Is he worth his right now QB7 ranking or QB9 ranking for fantasy? Like, are we taking Jalen Hurts in redraft this year?
100%
as your QB1,
depending on the value.
Yeah,
depending on where,
depending on the value. Yeah, like absolutely. I mean, it's Jalen Hurts. It's his offense now. Juan, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say what's up to Jeff joining the chat. I was just telling everybody that Jeff lives inside my brain. He's always coming up with stuff. I love the drafting of the football games, football video games. That was me all day. Tecmo Bowl, Tecmo Super Bowl, Madden, Joe Montana. Yeah, all those games.
I love it. I love that.
But yeah, that team's a video game right now. It's a fun little video game. I would love to play with Jalen Hurts because he's going to be one of those guys that gets you 700-800 yards rushing probably this year, the way he was running the ball in those 3 full games that he played. But real quick, I wanted to pit you guys against each other a little bit and then have a little bit of fun. Why do the Giants and the Eagles have this beef? Why would the Eagles sit Jalen Hurts to cost the Giants the playoffs and then turn around and trade with the Cowboys to jump ahead of the Giants to take the guy that the Giants wanted in Devontae Smith? It seems like
it's personal.
It feels like it's a little personal.
Yeah, there's something in there. There's something there.
And how do the Cowboys just manipulate the whole thing?
Yeah, Jura is back there playing around, the puppet master.
Oh my gosh. Like an interdivisional trade, it just blew my mind. Like, are you serious? Is this happening right now? Because you know what that means? That means that the Dallas Cowboys are afraid of the Giants improving their team.
Oh, he took it that way.
Yeah. And I mean, either way, the Eagles move up to get their guy, Devontae Smith. Now, Mr. Swanson, you are all about Devontae Smith this year. Tell me about Devontae Smith.
Hello. Yes. So I love Devontae Smith. One of the first things I love about Devontae Smith, and this has nothing to do with fantasy, but it brings us up. He's humble. I love it that he's a humble guy, despite that prospected chip on his shoulder due to his size. I love that he's a humble guy because we've drafted so many wide receivers in the past that are just way too flashy and they don't focus on the game and it just gets in the way of everything. But like all that aside, here's what I love about Devontae Smith. Footwork, great footwork, buys him a step, great burst, buys him another step. He gains leverage. He's a route running technician. He's a slim reaper. He gets open frequently. He does really well. He does really well before the snap. He has a great change of direction, and he has a great rapport with Jalen Hurts. And the thing about this that I really like is Jalen Hurts doesn't really have a rapport with anybody right now on the field. He hasn't spent enough time there. With Zach Ertz possibly moving on, there really hasn't been any sort of development with him and anyone else. And because he does have experience in college, Hurts and Smith, I feel like they're going to be able to rekindle that, and Smith could just be the number one right out of the gate. He's a difference maker. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that I really loved. I was really happy we took him. I know that there was so many other we could have. There were other guys that we could have took right there, and I think that we were just kind of like, all right, well, we're gonna try one more time to get this receiver thing right. We're gonna do it one more time. But I think this time I feel so much better about this pick than I have about any of our other picks as far as receivers go. But yeah, so with Hurts expected to take over, like he's gonna do, clean slate is a big deal.
I love how Nick Sirianni came out and said, "Oh, there's no solidity to Jalen Hurts being the starting quarterback. Like he's not going to win up against Joe Flacco."
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's weird, right? Sirianni's weird, man. He's weird with press conferences. He's just not like that. It's just not his strong suit.
He just doesn't want to, he just doesn't want to put it out there like that. But I like
I don't know.
I like the connection between Hurts and Sanders. Believe it or not,
okay, I love that
more
too.
So than people are touting about, because in week 14 last year, Sanders had 5 targets. He caught 4 balls, 5 targets, and he was able to run for 82 yards. Yes, it was a big break against the Saints, but it kind of opened things up, and I think that's what we're going to see. I think Alvin Kamara-esque as far as dumping the ball off to Miles Sanders, because people are afraid that Jalen Hurts is going to run. We saw it with Mark Ingram in Baltimore.
Yep.
We won't know which guy it's going to be. And with receiving weapons on that team, defenses won't know what to do. And it should open things up for Jalen Hurts to drop the ball down to Miles Sanders if he wants to, run the ball if he wants to, or even open up and hit Jalen Reagor, who is another guy that is slipping in drafts, on a slant route. Sorry.
Yeah, slants, jet sweeps, bubble screens, all that. That's going to be the Reagor game. And Mr. Swanson, to your point, like Devontae Smith's pretty much unguardable. I say he has a Deontay Johnson floor and a Marvin Harrison ceiling. Like that's who you could be looking at.
Wow.
That's my doppelgangers. Those are two other guys. And quiet, humble, work hard, run routes, go to work every day, and they are always open. Always open.
I love that in Philly. Yeah, and always open, like 7-Eleven, baby.
And no matter how much they run the ball, they are always open 7-Eleven. But around here we do Wawa. But yeah,
that's what I was gonna change it to Wawa.
Because we all love Wawa better. Yeah, but the boy Jalen Hurts is gonna have all the opportunity in the world, and if you line it up like we were talking about a video game, and the 2 tight end set, saying Ertz stays. Goddard and Ertz with Reagor and Devontae Smith and Sanders in the backfield with a healthy offensive line. Like, you don't know what's coming, if I'm going to run it, if it's going to be play action, is it a sweep, is it a reverse? Like, you don't know what's happening with that offense. You can get really creative with that team and with that foundation they have. I love where they're going. And you guys don't have to be cellar dwellers. You don't have to be 6-11 this year or any of that. I think this division is close enough where any one of these teams can win it, but the Eagles have just as good a shot as anybody.
Yeah, if their offensive line is juiced back up to 100%. And I hear good things. We talked about Lane Johnson talking about great things with the offense. I think it's going to help them improve. We talked about Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor. Those are the 2 receivers you want on this team
for sure,
for redraft purposes. And then let's slide over real fast. I mentioned Miles Sanders. What about Kenny Gainwell? Is he a possible sleeper handcuff you would want to hold on to with the other running backs, Kerryon Johnson, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, still on the roster?
I think so. I think he's a great pass catcher. I think it's kind of mirrors what Sanders is doing and would be great with Hurts as well. I think I would rather have Gainwell on my roster than Kerryon.
Me too. I second that motion. And I would also say,
I agree.
I say Gainwell has a chance, maybe not this year, but soon to be Nyheim Hines. He could be the Sirianni with that offense.
Sirianni,
makes sense.
100%.
So he could have the Hines role in that offense if he wins it out from Boston Scott. So, Kerryon's just a backup. I think he's just and then Howard's just a backup. Like those guys are just there for injuries.
Short yardage, goal line,
maybe some of that.
Yeah.
And they're not bad talents either.
Absolutely not.
No. It's good to have.
Both
it really
second
is.
round picks, I believe.
There's some good depth there that will be able to maybe create some mismatches or just be able to put your aces in your places and play the right guy for the right spot. But I'm really excited to see what these pass catching backs are going to do this year in Philadelphia. So if you can get Gainwell later on as a handcuff to Sanders, that's a smart move.
And then one thing I wanted to talk about with the Eagles is the transition to the tight end position. Okay, we have Zach Ertz still on the team, requesting a trade. The best they've gotten so far, I think, is a 3rd round pick. And he's not moving. And we know Dallas Goedert is going to be the main threat there. But just for hypothetical sake, what happens if Zach Ertz stays there? Is he actually going to play? Is he going to make a difference if he is on that roster?
I think he will. I think if he stays there, this might be a completely different season, maybe a resurgence for Zach Ertz. After the whole Carson Wentz thing, I think there was a mismatch there. There was a lack of chemistry that was there that fell off after Carson Wentz started seeing ghosts and wasn't quite himself anymore. If he has a competent quarterback who is learning a new system with Nick Sirianni, I think maybe the moves that are happening around him may actually bring Zach Ertz back true to form if he's going to end up staying there. If he doesn't stay there, then okay, then you have Goddard, you have Caleb Wilson, and you have some things that you can work out in the tight end position. Honestly, just as an Eagles fan, I would love to see Ertz. If he doesn't go anywhere, I'd love to see him stay there and see him really return to form with a new system in place. And I think a lot of the Eagles' problems were due to just some tired things, man. Just, you know what I mean? Like just with Wentz, and it seemed like it wasn't working out. And with Peterson, it just a resurgence is going to help.
I think it gives everybody a chance to start over, to kind of clear the slate and go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Colts ran a lot of 2 tight end sets, and I think they want to keep Ertz to be able to do that. So, but what I didn't like last year is that Ertz, we got to, father time, right? So Ertz is getting older. Goddard's coming into his own. Last year, Ertz had 10 more targets than Goddard, but he had 189 less yards. So he's not producing at the same clip as Goddard. So he's probably going to be your 1, and Ertz is going to be your 2. He's going to have to fade into that role. And I just don't like it for fantasy and redraft. I think I might be leaving both of them alone, and I'm better off taking a flyer on like the guy we drafted last week, Irv Smith. Whatever happens in New England, I'll take one of those guys. I'll just rather take a flyer on someone else, hitting a home run there. Cole Kmet, Adam Troutman. Like, let me get one of those guys.
Maybe
Evan Ingram's getting down there now.
Of course.
Even.
Yeah, if he's down there,
guy. He's always been your
he's
guy.
always been my guy.
One thing to your point, to those targets, a lot of those targets were Wentz balls, and those balls were overthrown. They were targeted. I'm serious. It was disgusting because they were plays where it's just like it was a totally catchable ball if it was a 1.5 foot lower.
I am a little scared in general because something with the Eagles with Donovan McNabb wasn't the most accurate guy, and he would throw it at people's feet and all that stuff on the swings. Carson Wentz got happy feet, got a little scared, started throwing the ball too far, and he started lofting balls, all right, and throwing picks. Now at 52% completion percentage last year from Jalen Hurts, like you need a big jump in order for him to really make any of those pass catchers, league winners or wide receiver ones or tight end ones or any of that. You're going to need luck for some touchdowns, or you're going to need a big jump in completion percentage from Jalen Hurts.
I like that.
Yes, correct.
I'm sorry.
You ain't wrong.
Well, yeah. Not really, not on that one. Yeah, I mean, it could happen. Is it gonna pull a Josh Allen and make that kind of a dramatic jump? Maybe not, but any kind of improvement will make that offense better and make them gel. And again, they have a chance to, go up that turnpike and beat the Giants this year.
I'd rather take Irv Smith back like we talked about at 111 than Goddard up here at tight end 7. I think I said he was. Yeah, 75 overall.
No, I'm not doing that.
No,
Goddard's
there's
7.
There's too many wide receivers. Curtis Samuel's still on the board. Juju Smith-Schuster would still be on the board.
Yeah,
then
Curtis Samuel all day.
Yeah, Judy, like Noah Fant. Even I would take Noah Fant over Dallas Goddard.
Me too.
Even though we don't know who the quarterback's going to be in Denver.
I don't even care. Unless Ertz moves. If Ertz goes to Buffalo or if Ertz goes to Indianapolis, then okay.
Different
then
story.
Now Goddard belongs in the top 10 probably. But still, those guys are hit or miss. I'm waiting either way on tight end, especially when there's competition.
So wait a minute. If that means Zach Ertz moves on, he'd be a great best ball buy late in drafts with like your 18th pick.
For sure.
He's still up there. Just go out and grab Zach Ertz, because if he lands one of those starting jobs, like you said, in Indianapolis or San Diego or LA Chargers rather, or something like that.
Well, they got Jared Cook.
Oh no, they got Jared Cook. I'm sorry,
but Buffalo, he beats out Dawson Knox, and I think he wins out over whoever's going to be in Indianapolis right now. So Mo Alley Cox or Jack Doyle.
Zach Ertz may wind up being a waiver wire hero come this fall.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if he makes that sheet. Maybe week 1.
If he goes to Indy, he's just going to have
his ADP will definitely go up if he goes to Indy.
Overthrown. Yeah, all right. Well, all right.
Ball's overthrown right back into the pit with Wentz. I don't know, man.
Listen, I always said that I hope he does
different offense.
Indy. Rename with Frank Reich, I'm hoping.
You just want him to play well so you can get that first round pick.
I mean, he's got to be better than Phillip Rivers, right?
75% well.
That's all you need him to be is a C student.
75% well. That's all I need.
So speaking of C students, let's move up the turnpike and go visit the Chef's Giants.
Yeah. Man, you were just slinging them at me. And you know what?
Listen, I woke up in a bad mood with Jason Garrett.
It was leg day yesterday in the gym. And after leg day, my quads always feel strong, big.
You feel like Saquon?
Just like Saquon Barkley. I'm wearing his jersey today. And he is in the consensus top 5 running backs of every single draft. ECR, he's ranked number 4. There's nothing that Saquon can't do. He can catch the ball. He can run with the ball. He can make fast breaks.
Yeah, 91
generational talent.
Yes.
He's been comped to Adrian Peterson. And he showed it young. His breakout age in the NFL was magnificent, but he hasn't done it really since. He's been injured for the past 2 seasons. Is this year that he revamps the Giants offense and takes over?
I hope so. I hope this is the year they give him the usage that he needs. He's never had more than 16 carries per game. Even in his rookie year when he had those 91 catches, he wasn't utilized in the run game. They wanted to kind of keep him fresh. And maybe that's the formula. And maybe that's what they should do, is just use his explosiveness and the fact that he's going to get 7 or 8 yards a rip. You don't need him out there all the time. But if they give him that bell cow usage, like, he can be generational. He could be someone that we're talking about 20 years from now, like, an Edgerrin James or an Eddie George or, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, like all-time great level talent and potential. That's what Saquon has.
I think it's safe to say, with the talent surrounding Daniel Jones this year, that he is going to take a step, not a chest forward, in the right direction. I think he keeps his feet more so behind the pocket, plays out of the pocket a little bit more, utilizes Saquon Barkley. They were dealing with Saquon Barkley being out, and whenever you take the focal piece of the offense out, it's going to hurt the whole team. And then they go out and get Kenny Galladay,
Kenny G,
this free agency, and I think it was a smart move. And then they fall back and they add on Kadarius Toney in the NFL draft this year. Now that leaves 2 wide receivers that I would happily take in my draft if I have faith in Daniel Jones, which I kind of do.
You do.
As a second, not as a first. Let's get that straight.
All right, so you won't have him in the top 12. Last year, he was one of my hot takes, one of my bold predictions. I thought he was going to break out in that offense because he has the same physical tools as Dak. He's just inaccurate and a little loose with the ball. Dak fumbled the ball 3 times last year in 5 games. So they have similarities, and Jason Garrett, plug that offense in. The similarity between Zeke and Saquon, the way the offense was built, the same offensive coordinator, you think
same offensive, yeah.
You would expect a similar result, but last year the injury to Saquon has just devastated that team.
That's what did it.
Yeah, I love Kenny Golladay though. Last year in the 4 games that he did play, he scored in 2 of them, and he had 100 yards in the other ones in the other 2 games. This is a dude that put up 5 100-yard seasons, 5 100-yard games the season before. He's an elite level talent, a guy you can throw the ball up to. You can be a little inaccurate when you're throwing it to a guy with a bigger catch radius. So, like you said, Chef, you add Kadarius Toney, who's a weapon and someone that you can use on jet sweeps and compile a little bit of stats. And I wouldn't be surprised if everyone on that offense kind of outplays their ECR right now, because where they're being ranked right now, like where they're being taken, I feel like they can all outperform that.
I mean, if you look at it with the fact of, I want to talk about a little bit about Darius Slayton. What happens now that Golladay is there? Is he wiped off the face of the planet, or does it kind of help him having an alpha wide receiver already on the roster that can stretch the field and take that safety off the top?
Yeah, he's a 4.33 speed guy, man.
Yeah.
He should.
I think it helps. I think it's always great to have those 2 receivers where as a defense, it's more difficult to figure out who to cover. And I feel like having an alpha and then having the guy right under him is always a great 1-2 punch, because you can't cover everybody all the time, and then you kind of create mismatches that way. And I think it's good for him, and I think it's good for Shepard too.
Yeah. Speaking of Shepard, I mean, we talked about it. I think we talked about it last season. We talked about it the year before. He's got that name to him, that injury prone kind of player. We don't like to throw that label around too much, but it's the truth. He's injured like 55% of his career. And now they drafted Kadarius Toney. I think it was at the 20th spot in the NFL draft. We just aforementioned that. And they also got John Ross. So they have some, I think John Ross is just special teams. Do not pick him up in your redraft leagues. But Kadarius Toney is someone that can mirror Sterling Shepard on a physical attribute, the way he plays physical, slot shiftiness, and can play outside. So I think Kadarius Toney actually takes away targets from Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton this season. I am fading both of them, and I am taking Toney later in the, I guess, ECR 91 for the wide receivers. He's going to be left over in your drafts towards the back end of your drafts. He is my late round flyer for targets. Yes, I'm a Giants fan. I know it kind of goes with the territory, but I believe that if he can get on the same page with Daniel Jones early, I think he is going to make an impact, and him and Evan Ingram may have more targets than Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton this year.
Yeah, I like Shepard if he wins the job, because it can take a little while for these rookies, especially, a slot guy who hasn't defined his position and he has people in front of him at their position that all have experience. Slayton could take a step up because he's not going to be facing the ones anymore. Those are all going to go to Kenny Golladay. He's not going to be going up against Darius Slay or Trayvon Diggs or Fuller from the football team. He's going to be going up against the B guy. So he's going to have an opportunity to succeed, Slayton. Shepard, if he wins that role, he should be good. He averaged 13.5 points a game last year, which would have put him in the low-end wide receiver 2 range. So if he wins the starting job, then Toney's more gadgets, special teams with John Ross, bubble screens, things like that. And it would take an injury for him to get in there and play full-time. Sure. I feel like he might be more a waiver wire hero week 3, week 4, if anything happens to one of the other guys, or he just eventually, because he's a better athlete than Shepard maybe, and he takes over that job. Long term for sure, though, because I think it's the last
great dynasty.
It's the last year of Shepard's contract.
Exactly.
Right.
So once Shepard's gone, he's automatically the slot. So if you get growth from Slayton, who's USC pedigree, and not the same kind of player as Juju, but in a position to be, like you said, a B to an alpha, and he has the USC pedigree and 4.33 speed. So why not, wheels up on Slayton again this year?
That's interesting. We're tilting on that one.
Yeah, we're going to tilt on that one because I like Slayton. I've always been a fan, and I think he'll do better if he's not covered by the number 1 every week.
You think of him as like a Marvin Jones type wide receiver?
Yeah.
Potential?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
For sure.
That's like his ceiling.
Yeah, but that would be fantastic if you
What's
got that
his
out of
floor?
John Ross. I don't know.
John Ross. We have that on the roster already.
Right.
Is it like his floor like a Colin Johnson last year? He just disappears?
Nah, well, Colin Johnson disappeared because he got replaced by Marvin Jones. I don't know. I don't know what his floor is. I think he can be better than what he was the last season. I mean, he 96 targets, he only caught 50 of them. So like there was a lot of that on Daniel Jones, a lot of that on the timing, and again on being covered by the number one corner on the other team. So
and not having Saquon in the offense.
Correct.
So it was a correlation.
You got to put 8 in the box to stop that man Saquon. It's going to be the complete like awesome offense once they get out there and they're fully healthy, and another year of growth for those young offensive linemen. You know, and Pert and Thomas, like you're not bad. You have good talent on that offense. They just were injured. I feel like this whole division was injured. I feel like that's the reason the Cowboys weren't that good. I feel like the Eagles fell apart when the O-line fell apart last year. It's like directly correlated to injuries.
It was. I mean, they all called it the NFC least, but it was the NFC injured.
Yeah.
I can't think of something clever for that.
NFC injured list.
Yeah.
NFC knees, my knees.
NFC least. That's what they were calling us. One guy I want to talk about, and we mentioned a little bit, Evan Ingram. Okay, he's tight end 17 right now, ADP of 136. Is he worth grabbing? We saw him come alive last year, especially against Baltimore, a tougher defense. He had 7 receptions for 65 yards. Didn't get into the end zone much last season, only 1 touchdown, but he's in a contract year. All right. They bring in Kyle Rudolph to back him up, which is pretty much a blocking tight end at this point.
Right.
We're not going to see Kyle Rudolph going out and catching passes.
And maybe a mentor, a little bit of a one last chance to bring someone in here, a veteran like Jason Witten did for Waller last year. Like he's not Darren Waller as far as physically comparable. Like Evan Ingram is an elite athlete at the tight end position. He just had the dropsies, a little bit of the Daniel Jones thing last year. Again, no Saquon, no not being that open on play action. Who's covering him? Probably the best safety on the other team. Now those safeties got to come down and be in that box, and they're in a different position. You might be left alone on linebackers. He had 109 targets. The fact that he only had 1 touchdown is mind-boggling. I mean, he probably dropped a couple touchdown passes. So I think there's opportunity there, and he could be the value on this team. Like he could be the guy that if you finish top 5, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he finished top 5 in tight end.
I mean,
I would not, and
it's because the top 5 tight end could be anybody. You know, it's the top 3 or 4 guys, and then there's the 1, and then there's 2, 3, and 4, and then there's a drop off.
If he's the second most targeted player on that team behind Kenny Golladay, he's got a chance to be top 3. He has every physical gift to be Kittle, Waller, Kelsey-esque. He has all of the tools. It's whether or not they can put it together.
Put the offense together.
Yes, as an offense. But at least he gives you
that
upside.
There is upside, and I feel like a lot of that is contingent on whether or not they have a running game established, which is tough.
I think everything just dependent on the running game established.
Right? Like, it's got if you get that running game established, I think Evan Ingram, if Saquon stays healthy, let's go. I mean, the last time the last time the Giants had a healthy running back all season, even though they were using several of them at the time, was 2017, I believe. And Ingram had 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was his rookie season, wasn't it?
Oh, that was his rookie season? All right.
I think so. That was the one where he was targeted a lot, and he did great for.
But he was healthy.
End, which
he was healthy all. Was Saquon healthy all 2017?
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
He had 91 catches himself. Yeah.
Right. All right. So Ingram had 6 touchdowns, 722 yards. He was averaging 11.3 yards per catch.
Beast.
64 receptions on 100. Yeah. Right. So if you got,
I mean, the offense has changed. The whole thing is the offense has changed completely. Different quarterback, different wide receivers. I think with the familiarity of Evan Ingram and Daniel Jones, the connection that they were starting to put together last year down the stretch. Yeah, I think if we see more of that type of Evan Ingram, yes, he is a value. Otherwise, you just wasted a pick.
I believe in it this much. Water bet if you want. Evan Ingram outscores Dallas Goedert in fantasy this year.
I'm not betting that
because Goddard's 7. The expert consensus ranking has him 8 spots ahead of him, 10 spots ahead of Ingram.
Yeah, that's crazy to me
because we have no idea. I'm not taking that bet.
It's crazy. Like we don't even know what's happening with Zach Ertz yet. Like that's where you got to get.
That's where you get to value in drafts and what you want to do. With your picks. Do I take Goddard where he's going? Or do I wait 2-3 rounds, add a couple more wide receivers, add Nyheim Hines and Tariq Cohen to my roster, and then get Evan Ingram? Yeah, give me that strategy. Yeah, give me that strategy.
Yeah, 100%. I would.
And then last but not least, in the NFC East, the Beasts from Washington.
Yeah.
The Washington football team.
Yeah, the champs are here.
Yeah, I think they've got a great shot at winning the division again. They have a new quarterback, a new old quarterback, leading the charge in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm loving the value on Ryan Fitzpatrick right now in best ball leagues.
Where's he going?
Just
20th?
Yeah, he's going quarterback 20 off the board. He's there in the 11th, 12th, 13th round sometimes. And I think he just fills that void. I mean, he's for best ball, he's perfect because he likes to take chances. So he's gonna hit those receivers. And Terry McLaurin, newly added Curtis Samuel, and they also have Diami Brown out of North Carolina, who they picked in I believe the 3rd round, 4th round of the draft. It was one of their only picks. I think they're gonna make moves and stretch the field a lot more than what we saw last year. Ron Rivera said they want to get Gibson more involved in the passing game.
Yeah.
So all the top weapons in this offense are definitely feasible for fantasy purposes, in my opinion.
I love that offense. Even J.D. McKissick had 110 targets last year. Like, it's absurd.
That was crazy, right?
He finished in the top 20. What was he, 17 or some such?
Do you think that history repeats itself in that sense? Is J.D. McKissick one of those guys that for a leftover or a last round pick, you'd be able to oh yeah, give me J.D. McKissick. Maybe he'll do the same thing he did last year. Or is he just you were going to be like, you know what? I just want Gibson or nobody in the backfield for Washington.
In the backfield, I want Gibson and nobody from the backfield because he had 110 targets and so did Logan Thomas, but that was out of necessity. I think that was out of need. If you have a Curtis Samuel who had over 100 targets himself in Carolina or 97 targets somewhere along those lines, like he's going to be featured in the offense. And like you said, the rookie Diami Brown should see the field quite often. And he and Curtis Samuel can take carries and catches away from the backfield. But I think they're both more talented than J.D. McKissick. So I want Gibson and I don't want McKissick. I feel like that was an outlier of a season and it was all based on need. They didn't really have any other weapons. And Alex Smith is the dump down king. Ryan Fitzpatrick he plays YOLO. He does. He plays YOLO ball. You saw the targets for the running backs in Miami go down as soon as he was at the helm as well. So yeah, I agree with you there, Juan. Thomas may not take too much of a hit. Logan Thomas might have himself a nice little season with Fitzpatrick. He does like to throw the ball up the seam.
I agree.
I think it's an extra receiver in a sense for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like if he finds himself in a jam, he will throw to Logan Thomas like he threw to Devontae Parker coming across the middle. On a crossing route. Logan Thomas runs hella crossing routes. Yeah. And he's pretty much a wide receiver.
He runs up the seams and he gets open. I love McLaurin.
But Curtis Samuel kind of Curtis Samuel kind of cuts into Logan Thomas's targets, I think, across the middle.
In the area, maybe he runs a lot more slants and all that stuff and gets, but I feel like that creates confusion and traffic and you can play levels with those guys. And Curtis Samuel's a different animal. Like he can be used as a deep threat like he was 2 years ago. He can be used out of the backfield. He's a weapon. Yeah. He's reunited with his boy McLaurin from college. Like I'm excited and with Ron Rivera because they played together in Carolina. He drafted him and Scott Turner. So like they're gonna use their weapon, Curtis Samuel. And I love Curtis Samuel this year. I love McLaurin.
Me too.
Basically, give me that whole offense, the whole starting offense.
And Curtis Samuel, didn't we take him in the draft?
We did.
We did.
I'm trying to find him.
I'll tell you right now, we took Curtis Samuel 7-10.
Yeah, love it. Late in the 7th round. I love a guy.
Late in the 7th.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
He had 97 targets last year. He caught 77 of them. He had 200 yards rushing last year, and that was in Carolina.
Yeah, he is.
That he beat. Like, he could do everything. I can't wait to see him.
He can. Me too, man. He's a threat. He's going to make some things happen in Washington. I'm scared about Washington, which is something I've never said. Yeah, right. I should be.
You should be. They had 11 sacks against the Eagles in the 2 games that they played against them last year. They had 10 against the Cowboys and 6 against the Giants. Like they are a serious problem along that defensive front. And then they added Jamin Davis, and then they added William Jackson from Cincinnati. So their corners are more solid with Fuller. Like I just feel like they're at least defensively, they're the highlight of this division. Not that the other teams weren't bad. The Eagles were 3rd in sacks. The Giants weren't bad either. They were 13th in almost all the different categories. They were pretty middle of the road, but higher end. So it's going to be a fight. The whole division is going to battle. But if defense wins championships, they should at least win Washington the division.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on board with that too.
I'm not going to crown them the
It's tough pill
champs,
to swallow, but
because there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of upside in the Giants organization. There's a lot of upside coming. Philly is a new rebuilt team
that could shock people because they are young and it could sneak up on a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean that's something that could happen too. It's not going to be the NFC East this year. That's what's going to happen. There's not going to be an NFC East this year.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think for fantasy purposes, there's not going to be an NFC.
There's not going to be any like BS nicknames that are just bringing everybody down in this division. I think this year it's going to be a resurgence. It's just going to be that one year was a weird year. Look, it was the year of 2020. We don't say that word on this show, but it was the year of 2020. There were a lot of things floating around. Things were going crazy. You know what? Take that year, throw it out the window, rebuild. Let's go. Things are already looking up, which is a great sign for football because it takes a long time to rebuild a team, but we're already seeing in this division a lot of rebuilding and a lot of promise for fantasy coming this year.
I love that.
Fresh Delphia.
I love the upside possibilities that they have. Like there are a couple quarterbacks that could definitely be in the top 5. Jalen Hurts with the rushing upside and Dak Prescott because he's done it before, right? All 4 running backs could be top 5. And given the right scenario. Chef mentioned Sanders, who would be the lowest ranked out of that group or finished the lowest last year, but he has Alvin Kamara upside. He has Jonathan Taylor type ability, right? So he can be that. We know Saquon's all world. We know Zeke is all world. Both are league winners, and Gibson showed everything. And if they use them in the passing game, you're in a division now with 2 top 5 quarterbacks, 4 top 10 running backs, 5 or 6 wide receiver, 1 or 2. Like those guys aren't going to drop below 2. Those 2 guys from Dallas, right? McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Kenny Galladay, and even Devontae Smith can sneak in there. So I absolutely love this division for fantasy.
Yes,
let's go.
I think they're similar to what the NFC South was last year.
Love that conference. Yeah, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Mike Evans. Like, yeah, exactly. Weapons everywhere, and it could be,
and holes in the defense to keep the ball moving on offense.
A little bit.
keep throwing those balls.
Mostly in Dallas.
Yeah. That's how Dallas. That's why Dallas fantasy players are definitely relevant and valuable in my eyes this year.
Yeah. A lot of shootouts down in Dallas.
But that's the divisional breakdown on the Tilt is real. And unless you guys have anything else to say about these 4 teams,
draft them early and often. Take as many of these guys as you can. Absolutely load your team up with NFC East talent. I think that's where it's at. There's a lot of value. Stay with this division. This is one of my favorite ones to target this year, division-wise, is the NFC East.
You said it, man. I got nothing else to add to that. That's perfect. That's exactly where I'm feeling too.
All right. That about wraps this episode up. Episode 54 in the books, baby. That was good.
Oh, baby. We're getting there.
That was good.
Thank you, everybody, for
getting there.
In.
We are there, brother.
Zach Thomas, Jalen Smith. There's a few famous 54s that I like.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
56.
I was told there'd be no math.
Yeah.
Man, and he's my guy. I just bought a jersey on that.
You just showed me a picture of a jersey that you bought for number 56, Lawrence Taylor. I love it.
Oh, man. I need some sleep. This baby's killing me.
The baby's kicking the chef's.
Yeah, he's kicking me right out of the kitchen. You can find me at FF_chef on Twitter. Check us out at The Tilt is Real, at The Tilt is Real on Twitter. And like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. Juan
Carlos Pena. You can find me at FF1 of a kind, thetiltisreal.com, or at The Tilt is Real. And it's here next week.
Yeah, here next week, we're going to be talking about another division. We don't know which one yet. We might have a little surprise guest for you if we can book it correctly. So tune in next week. And last but not least, the expert, Mr. John Swanson.
Hey there, I am John Swanson. You can find me at FFJohn, JAWN Swanson. This was a Wednesday, my dudes. I love it. I'm happy to be here with you guys. I got some new music coming out soon, but I'll give you more information on that as it comes to fruition. But season's getting closer every week, everybody.
98 days to wake up.
Let's go.
Is it really 98 days and a wake up?
99
the timer
today. Yeah, 98 days and a wake up. I'm starting my countdown.
Start the countdown. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Keep tilting. Keep joining in.
The Tilt is Real. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for more great fantasy football content. We'll catch you guys next time on The Tilt is Real.